And we're live. Welcome, everybody.
You're plagiarizing another YouTuber's content.
Well, Maddie, I try to say it not the way he says it, but I end up saying it the way he says it because it's just, I've been watching him too long. And we're live.
We're live. It actually is a catchphrase. You know, if you're going to build virality or brand or familiarity or comfort, you know, those similar introductions, I'm sure that he even thinks about the psychology of his introduction.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine that I just did an interview with is Crypto Weekly Review, and I was giving him kind of the same treatment yesterday. He made an opening, and I was like, you know, where's your, you know, to help you get through the bear market, like you got to have your catchphrase, your slogan, you know, your mission statement.
Yeah. All right. So we have a very special guest. Needs no introduction. He is a real estate mogul. He's been in the real estate game for a while. Day one Hexagon, I believe. He was one of the I guess it was like the ragtag army. It was just like a bunch of you know, guys that, you know, they were assertive. They took the bull by the horns and went against everything. And you could make an argument if people like you and, you know, RG3 and Miguel and et cetera didn't like step forward, we may not be where we are today with such a thriving community. So we have Funding Jim with us. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's great to be here. I'm Gary. I'm Gary Woods. I'm doxed myself. I'm out there. I have LinkedIn and YouTube and things like that are related to Funding Jim, the brand or the name. But you know, I feel that if Elon Musk is a wealthy guy and can be out there publicly talking about things he loves, I can do the same. So I'm glad to be on your channel. And there's a lot of topics we can talk about. You just I'll kind of follow your lead.
All right. Yeah. So I guess we'll just start off with your background, and you maybe want to implement how you got into Hex from there. That would be a great way to start.
I'm not a wild cat personality, but I'm definitely someone that will experiment and adventure all of my life. And I say that because when I was a child, there's a lot of turbulence in my family life and things like that. My parents, and I changed schools quite a bit. So I was always in a mode of adapting to a new environment or a new household or something along those lines. And I'd have a exposure to about a year worth of farm life and, you know, cattle and horsemanship and things like that in one place. And then, you know, a year or so later, I'd be kind of, midtown, mid-city, you know, 500,000, you know, not a massive city, but 500,000 population type city, and have a urban life. I would have people that were salt of the earth, and you know, their wits about them is how they earn their living, and then others that were very educated in language, you know, like law, you know, so things like that. So I think that my childhood helped me a lot. Some would see it as challenging to be so mobile and you know, have different experiences, so many by the time I was 17. But I think it's a nurture nature thing for me. So 16, I emancipated. I lived on my own. 17, I graduated high school on time, but you know, I was a young kid as far as how you make it to senior level in my school. And right away, I think within a few weeks of graduation, I had signed up for the Navy to go into the military, basically so that they would throw me some other place on the planet and I would learn something completely foreign to what I already knew. So my curiosity is what took me to the Navy. And when I was deciding what field to go into, they do these tests on your intellect or on your ability, your aptitude. And I was selected for the highest thing that you could do as an enlisted person coming into the service, signing up, which was nuclear, for running the reactors on nuclear submarines primarily. Another person that had the same credential is Motley. So Motley and I have similar start in our military career. When I was selected for it, my dad had given me some pretty wise, I think, advice and said, you know, you've gotten picked up for this school. I was 17 years old. The Navy was going to give me $30,000, which you know, when I was 17, that was a lot of money. And more, you know, I think I was making $6 an hour flipping burgers at a local joint. So 30 grand was a huge chunk of money to be offered to a 17-year-old. And I definitely wanted technology, and I was curious about computers and, you know, physics and science things. And it seemed like that would be a good field for me. And my dad actually had a conversation with me and said, you know, once you complete your tour of duty, you're likely to work in a nuclear reactor somewhere on the planet. And they usually don't have those in the middle of cities. They usually have them in the middle of deserts. And you're likely to spend a career afterwards just pushing buttons in a reactor, you know, somewhere. So it didn't seem very appealing to me. And he actually promoted the idea of me going into medicine or going into a medical umbrella. You know, starting out in the service, it is basically EMT work. It's battlefield, you know, preparedness, emergency room kinds of stuff. You're learning about sucking chest wounds and, you know, doing tracheotomies and, you know, cut downs and things like that in the field in battle or, you know, near battle lines. That's really all of the training that you get when you first start out. And I wanted the adventure, sure, but I definitely liked science and biology and technology, and it seemed like a bigger umbrella for me. So I chose, when I came in the service, first to just be a standard corpsman or a standard medic in that field. Maybe I would work at a big hospital. Maybe I'd be attached to the Marine Corps. Maybe I'd be on a ship. You know, I didn't know where I would be placed, but I thought it was an interesting enough field for me to take on. And when I completed the basic schools, I did, you know, I was always seeking like a good mentor personality, and I had found one, a guy named Chief Conrad, that inspired me as far as his, you know, he was so different than anybody that I knew in my childhood. Like, he was so dapper, and, you know, he had a wall of ribbons, and he was proper in his way of communicating and things like that. So it was just someone that I immediately respected. And he promoted me basically for selection on some other schools. So I went to some other schools that were advanced, and then I got I'd been sent to the Marine Corps as a tour of duty for, I think I was supposed to be there for 3 years at Camp Pendleton in California. And initially, I thought I was going to be happy with living, you know, in Quonset hut and basically, you know, working with the tank division and just, you know, serving all of the different things like vaccinations or for, you know, hygiene and all the things that you basically need when you're occupying a foreign country. So I learned a lot of that sort of stuff. And someone else came along that was recruiting for special forces. My friends wanted to go. They wanted to, you know, have the jock experience of, you know, combat and, you know, celebration of, you know, daring deeds and things like that. That wasn't so much for me. So I said goodbye to my friends. I said, your guys going to go to recon and, you know, SEALs and all these different, you know, experiences. But that's, you know, I'm not athletic enough. That's not really my field. I'm really in it for like intellectual things more, I guess. And my vanity kind of got a hold of me, and I was like, man, I kind of don't want to live for the next 4 years in a barracks that had 40 bunk beds, you know, 80 people with foot lockers and, you know, group showers and stuff like that. I wanted to like elevate myself, I guess. And my friends that had gone to special forces, they had the best of the base. There was 2 men to a room. They had a refrigerator. They had their own bathroom. They had a swimming pool that was 100 yards away. They were right beside the beach. They were, you know, like all the logistics about their location and what they had available to them as resources convinced me. I was like, I think I want to try out. It's because it sucks over here and I want to go better. Like, some people do it for glory. They want to compete with their, their relative that, had battle stories to tell, and others wanted to do it for a special pay. You got special income because you were jumping out of airplanes or scuba diving, or you're in hazardous environments a lot more than, other parts of the service. Some people wanted it because they wanted access to special equipment that other branches or other MOSs didn't have available to them. I did it for the adventure, and I did it because I wanted a nicer lifestyle. 18 to 22 years old, that was my life. I deployed a lot with them. Went to the first Gulf War. The first 8 or 9 months of my experience with reconnaissance was living in a dirt hole. And I kept saying to my friends, I was like, I joined recon and went through all this hazing and went through all these schools. I went to Navy dive school and all these different specialized medicine schools where they medicate and injure goats, and you run around, and if the goat doesn't live, you don't pass the course. So I had a lot of like advanced trauma training and things like that I really value today. I feel I have really great experience base and capability. My confidence grew, enormously from 18 to 22 because of all that stuff. But like, I also did it because I just wanted better lifestyle and more comforts. Like I was never I was unabashed about the reason I was there. And my friends, are lifetime friends. I have a reunion that's actually coming up in about 2 months that I'm going to go, hang out with Marines from, 30 years ago that I knew so well. So that was my start.
Wow. And then I guess we have to talk about the real estate. So that's a very interesting story. And then I guess, how did you end up getting into real estate? And then we could, I guess, pipeline that into Hex.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm 4 or 5 people, because I have chapters like a book that are like, okay, this is what happened in this part of the story. And then there's pretty much a closure to that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So the business person that you're talking to now, the Hex enthusiast that you're talking to now, is really not that long of experience. I would say 2000, my first home, for personal residence, I was 20 years old. I understand credit. I understand savings. I understand leverage, for being able to access my own home. And I bought a home when I was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. That might have been like the first foray. A lot of people might put that off a lot longer than others, but I always was like, hey, it's better to be paying on a mortgage, fix my cost, not be beholden to a landlord, things like that. So that was just my own desire to set my own rules of my house. And then, that happened many times over my life until 2014, I think 2014. So really not that long ago. But when I get involved with something and I get enthusiastic about it, I go whole ham. Like I go, as deep as I can into that field. So from 0 to 16 was farm kid, change a bunch of schools, meet a lot of different people, understand psychology to a degree just because you're exposed to different types of personalities. 16 to 17, fending for myself and graduating high school. 17 to 22, Marine Corps, Special Forces, all these different schools and stuff like that, deployment, war zones and so forth. 22 until basically 2017, I always had a medical career in the background. I went through a lot of different schools for MRI, CT, echocardiography, cath lab, any type of practice related to the heart, any kind of diagnostic, any kind of like implant, whether it's pacemakers or valves of the heart, or the sleeve that goes around the aorta, things like that, as far as operations and so forth. I was involved with all of that field. Robotic hearts, like left ventricular assist devices, those were my specialties. So it was technology bridging into biology related to the heart. Then I knew something about it, or I was specialized in that field. Up until 2006, I was relatively mobile. I was a contractor. So I would work somewhere 3 or 4 months. on a contract, usually getting 1.5 to 2 times the rate a normal local person would be making, because I'm just filling in a gap while they're searching for a replacement. So if someone, quits a job as an MRI tech, if someone, they need more staff, or they're opening up a new cath lab and they need more staff, then I would be a temporary contract and be paid a premium. So I got, I worked at a lot of amazing facilities. I worked in Mayo, I worked in Cleveland Heart Clinic, I worked in Washington University, University of Washington in Seattle. I worked a lot of different places, and very happy for that experience as well. What changed in 2006 was one of my contracts took me to Silicon Valley, a big hospital right beside now what is the spaceship of Apple. So 3 miles away from where I was working was Google, 4 or 5 miles away was eBay as it was going through its curve, its launch, Facebook. All of my friends that were social, that weren't in medicine, they worked at a tech company. All of my friends that were local, even if they were retired or something like that, they had some connection to a tech company. Like they were doing something related to tech, or they were an inventor of some sort. All of my patients for the past 40 years of Silicon Valley existing, since basically the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb is kind of what concentrated a lot of smart people into that region. The development of all of that for World War II. So a lot of the origin of this tech-centric concentration is because of the war effort. And then after that, like tech companies and things like that sprung up to serve commercial use and so forth. So like even people that were in their 70s or 80s were inventors, physicists, people that I was seeing as a patient in cardiology. They all had similar background stories. They became very wealthy because they took a risk on a tech venture, or they were some kind of super brain that migrated from somewhere else on the planet to work in collaboration with others like-minded. So like my experience in business began with a transition from medicine, and I like that. My first real sense of investing outside of my own skill set, or something like that, to invest into other people, was speculating on some startups and things like that related to I used to run a startup accelerator. So I basically decided I wanted to do a real estate play. I knew that it was very expensive for people to have their own housing as an apartment, to have their own office space, and their own vehicle, especially when they're immigrating, to launch a company. So I decided I was going to launch and start a hostel effectively with 15 bunk beds and 3 other independent rooms, and basically play the rental arbitrage game. But I was going to be selective, and the only people that could come to my accelerator had to have a pretty active LinkedIn. They had to have, some kind of, vouching from other peers that said that they were really, business minded and they were there for a purpose. They weren't just looking for a low cost place to live. They were looking for collaborative environment. So this WeWork kind of thing, where people were renting office space, that wasn't really a thing when I was doing my accelerator business. And I think that my overhead was effectively around $7,000 per month, and my income from the site was around $28,000 to $30,000 per month. So it's basically an arbitrage spread. But I also got to play, during the day, I would be working in cardiology at a local hospital, and then about 5 o'clock, I would come check on the property and play mayor. So someone would be new, they're going to be here for 3 weeks. I'd have an introduction kind of interview and say, what are you here for? What are you trying to find? What are you trying to get out of this? And they would say, well, I'm looking for a Python developer. I'm looking for someone that knows the clothing industry. I'm looking for their list of needs. And then I would try to play matchmaker and introduce people, like say, oh, well, this person is not here now, but 3 months ago, this is exactly what they were doing. Let's put you in contact with them. And I just started my networking skill set, to refine that. But yeah, that was my first like business related hosting environment accelerator experience. And from that, that developed further. And I decided in 2017 to retire from medicine and basically either continue that route, which was my plan originally, and then some speculation in cryptocurrency in March of 2017 is the first time that I heard, Ethereum or, any of these other things called ICOs or any of that business back in 2017. So that was my branching into cryptocurrency.
Interesting. I guess we could either talk about Hex, but I actually had a question for you, which was most people, as they get older, they are less and less on the cutting edge, because, once you make it, you have a little bit of incentive to be on the cutting edge. So I'm thinking like a lot of the information that I could promulgate, perpetuate to people, I think it is on the cutting edge, but that's because I'm hungry. I don't have a lot of money, and I have a decent knowledge, but I don't think that's going to be the case in 20, 30 years from now if things work out as I think they will. I mean, I hope it will, but chances are it won't. I mean, that's just the way the world works. So I guess how are you really able to stay on the cutting edge and the fringes and really, find these things that are, the next big thing, so to speak, despite being somebody who's already, gotten good footing in life. You've built a net worth and owning properties. So like, how are you able to really stay ahead of the curve?
Well, I never thought I would make it this far in life. Like I've had a lot of potential disasters that could have taken me out far earlier than this, especially with the military experiences and so forth. So I always felt like, I don't want to purposefully put myself in danger, but I definitely want to take risk. I feel like you're only living when you're learning something. Me personally, like I feel more despair by being stagnant or just repetitive. I just don't like it. So hosting the startup stuff was great because new people have new ideas. Their take on something isn't necessarily already biased or downtrodden or something like that about their dreams. Like they're dreamers, and that's amazing. And they just need like some of the connections about logistics, like how do I get this done when they have the idea, like that stuff is amazing. So like for me, that's one reason why I do like Hex is initially that was the feeling that I was getting in 2018 and 19 and 20, which was new people coming on to YouTube, new people coming on learning streaming and learning video editing, or how to make a meme or a thumbnail. Like that stuff for me was stuff that I wanted to learn, and I chose to basically from the catalyst of Hex and hexagons, and seeing other people that were learning it that knew nothing, and then they were brave enough, bold enough, curious enough to learn a skill and then deliver and polish their interviewing skills, polish their communication skills, things like that. So I love that environment. And that's actually what's got me pretty fired up about the potential of Pulsechain, PulseX as assisting the propagation of Hex as a product. I love Hex, and I like Pulsechain and PulseX as tools that help the narrative about Hex. Like it's a learning curve, both about the product and about the asset class and about macroeconomics and about like a sense of purpose that people can pick up in this field. Finding something that you believe in strongly enough to debate or battle over.
Yeah. Very interesting. I like how you mentioned, like, you had to learn, people had to learn all these new things. And it's like, it is crazy. Like, so yeah, I wanted to go get out online and talk about Hex, but I didn't know how to make thumbnails. I didn't know how to. I mean, I kind of knew how to edit actually, so that was sort of an advantage. But thumbnails, and then using now I'm pushing hard for TikTok and Shorts, learning that. There's a big learning curve, and now already there's this new thing, Instagram Reels, which Abit was on, and I'm probably gonna have to learn that. I don't know anything about Instagram, so I'm really getting it's a huge learning curve of social media. So that is interesting, and it's fun, I guess. It is a lot of work, but if you love what you're doing, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I talked to Abit about this. Maybe I talked about these other things with Abit and Patrick from the KSB people. They're the ones that put together this road tour. They, invested a lot of their resources, their time into, I think they went to 27 cities. They traveled something like 20,000 miles in a caravan kind of multi-vehicle, move each time. And I think that they got a lot of personal life experience that will serve them extremely well in the future about, management of 10 to 12 people in entourage and management of, 50 to hundreds of people in audience, with their public presentations and things like that. The first presentation I saw of theirs was months into their experience, but it was in Miami. That's the first one that I saw. And then I saw a future one in San Antonio as well. So I joined them in San Antonio as part of their tour, and maybe somewhere else, I can't remember. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, they're in their, I don't know Patrick's age, but, they're young guys that I don't know that I do know that their public speaking experience was next to nil before this Hex product entered their lives. There's a video about specifically Abit's experiences and so forth. This part of their tour. But what I'm getting at is the learning. They've embraced not just the product, not just the logistics and the understanding of what metrics to look at and how to present the story of Hex. They've also learned a ton of video production and event production, logistics stuff, like amazing volume of knowledge that they have taken on. And I know that I know that they approached me or said something about toward the end of their tour that they were going to, they wanted to continue doing the tour, but burning their own fuel, their own money to do so needed to come to an end. That they needed to find other source of funding for the advertisement. And I'd said, I think that's great. I think it's a noble experience, and hopefully you're getting something out of the adventure of being on the road 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should look toward sponsorship from conventional industries. So you're driving a supercar branded with Audi as advertisement about the Hex product, but it is also advertising Audi. And I think that approaching a car dealership or Audi for sponsorship is not out of hand. You're marketing to potentially hundreds of thousands of people that see the product as it drives down the highway, city to city. Or the hotel chains that you choose, like you're going to Hilton one time and you're going to a different Marriott a different time. Why not strike a deal and say, we're going to go 27 different Marriotts and we'll stick with one chain, and we'll advertise the hotel that we're going to use your convention room, and we're going to book our own accommodation, and let's do a win-win situation on marketing. I think it's the same thing, in my opinion, when it comes to the idea of TikToks and shorts and things like that. Is certainly the Hex product, certainly your own brand, because you might put your own face or your own voice, or you might promote the face or voice of others, volunteer to edit content that, Richard Hart is part of, or Hexologist was, of a clip about. or a montage or whatever it is you want to do, right? Like create the content. But I would say, those voluntary efforts sooner or later wane. Sooner or later, people get burned out. They're saying, why am I volunteering? Like, I don't see 100,000 other people doing the same thing. There's a few hundred people doing this. And why is it that I'm putting more time and effort for free than the other guy? So I think that our psychology can get burned out. And so I think that you should consider aligning a business model. And it doesn't have to be something that, we are antithetical about. So like if you're selling a trading course, you're probably going to get some heat from other hexagons. If you're selling, a referral link to a centralized exchange, you're probably going to get some heat, right? But there's all kinds of products and services that you probably consume yourself and you like enough to promote to others. So everyone has the availability to have an affiliate link with Amazon or with some other products or service and support your effort in tandem with your advocacy,
Yeah. Could I use that opportunity to plug my Patreon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if it. Well, I just started a Patreon, so I'm trying to do consulting. So like, if you want a consultation, it's $100 an hour,
Nice.
and I said, but if you join the Patreon for 20 or 30 a month, then it's free. You get a free consultation, and I'm hoping that you're not going to drop the Patreon because you'll be getting so much out of the benefits that you'll stay on board. And, and also, so I'm trying to make a Sunday AMA just for patrons. And right now I have 2. So I just said, I'll just take that time and give you guys a free consultation. So I guess I'll just drop it in the chat. We don't have to talk about that too much, but that is the way I'm trying to
tell how people would search it out, because I'll talk about that as well. I think it's a great idea. I know a lot about the Puerto Rico experience when it comes to Act 2022-60. I've coached people and consulted people that have decided, to compensate for the knowledge and for the referrals and things like that. And then some have decided, hey, it's best for them to make the transition to Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And then some have said, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight. And it's not for me. Like I advise as highly not to move as I do, about the benefits of moving when it comes to Puerto Rico and taxation. The same thing with business credit, personal credit. I used to have a business about it. That's where Funding Jim, the term, comes from. And I may take that back up because I think that, fear narratives and credit crunch make for scarce, makes for a limited number of people that can participate in great opportunities. Mm-hmm. So like I'm going to start talking, my content's going to start shifting more toward preparing for, 2023, which may or may not be a credit crunch. Even if it is not a credit crunch, you're probably more prepared with unsecured credit than putting your livelihood or your staples or your savings at risk. Like I want people to participate, but I want them to be wise about it. About some of the things that they may choose to speculate on. They can choose to speculate on real estate, launching their own company, speculating on some kind of startup idea or, cryptocurrency pitch. But, I am like cautious with emotional like capital at risk. Mm-hmm. So I want to coach people more about their access to capital and how they can leverage it.
So is there a website you want to plug?
No, I'll get to that some other day. But okay. I was just noting that, I don't think that everyone in Hex needs to be altruistic, giving of hundreds of hours per year at the minimum, constantly, DM'd and messaged for effectively shortcuts and advice that doesn't get some kind of compensation.
Yeah.
We volunteer an awful lot already. And I think that if you're delivering a valuable service or product into a marketplace can decide if it is bought or sold.
Yeah, true. And so you guys want a consultation, just email furufinance@gmail.com. And if you say you became a Patreon, then it's free with the $20 sign up. But the thing I noticed is that like a lot of it's hard to get And that's why I'm also motivated for bringing new people in, because the people that are already here, like we have 93 watching, hit the like
Yeah.
and subscribe, obviously, but they really know a lot. And I would even say that maybe I'd give them some additional information, but they're not like newbies. If you are able to go onto TikTok and Shorts and, get new people who are not familiar with Hex, they are the best leads for consultation and Patreon membership.
Yeah.
So that was something I had and I was thinking about. But yeah, guys, become a Patreon. And I guess my next question to you is, bring us back to the early days of Hex, how you figured it out, how it compares to now. I know there were a lot of dips, but not such a prolonged one. There was life-changing wealth made. Just, walk us through that.
So 2017, I was comparing cryptocurrency to startup culture of Silicon Valley. I was introduced because a previous tenant of mine was asking if I was still running the accelerator and messaged to me. And I said, no, I've shut it down. The owner of the property had decided to retire and then come back and re-inhabit their property. So I shut down the accelerator. Anyway, so they had said that they wanted to come as a tenant, and I said it doesn't exist anymore. And then they said, well, do you want to go to this blockchain meeting in Santa Monica, which was a couple 100 miles south of where I was at? I said, what is blockchain? And they explained it to me. And when they explained it to me, they said, it's decentralized and it's, basically business investing. And some people have really good pitches. And some, I thought of it statistically as the pre-IPO startup culture stuff I was familiar with. And I say that because I speculated in 2017 about $100,000 of my savings. And I speculated, and it went, not in one particular product, it went up to about $1 million. Wow. Within about 4 months, because that was kind of the blow off top, really, that was happening, right? From around September until around January. When that was happening, I remember in December saying to myself, well, this is going to be a lot of tax because I'm going to sell, and it's going to be, capital gains of, short-term capital gains. And I'm already living at the time in California. So I was thinking, and I talked to my CPA. I said, if I sell this for $1 million and I put in 100,000, what's my tax liability? And it was around half, around 450,000. So I was going to owe 450 grand, 420, something like that. If I sold in December. So then I thought, well, maybe I should give up California. Maybe I can, move to Texas in time, or, Florida or some other state that, doesn't have the same tax state-wise, and save on that. I think around that same time, I'd read maybe an article or had started doing Google searches from that article about Puerto Rico. I think Peter Schiff had been on Rogan's show. I think that I'd read some Wall Street stuff that Brock Pierce was talking about Puerto Rico, and starting a bank there or something with cryptocurrencies. And I, at the time, was watching a lot of content by YouTubers that were based in Los Angeles. And I had, participated in their super chats and things like that, talking about Puerto Rico. And they said that they wanted to go to Puerto Rico as well to see what it was going to be like. So I came as well to Puerto Rico, and I decided that it was worth it for me to move to save tax. So I was able to save a lot of tax by selling basically in January, and going through all the hoops, so to speak, of complying with Puerto Rico's tax rules. Then, because I didn't know market cycles, I really didn't know how quickly the market moved in cryptocurrency to be, now we're in a full-born bear, and now we're in a full, to the moon bull. I didn't know how reactive and quick and reflexive this market is, this asset class market. So I thought I was buying the dip in January or maybe February of 19. I was like, now that I got my tax stuff done, I'm going to put money back into the same thing that, seems to be dipping, that made me good money. And it was a centralized company pretending to be a cryptocurrency, complying as far as I thought, because they were US based. The CEO had worked at a Fortune 50 company. Their LinkedIn was pretty, robust. And I thought, I'm not going to speculate on that, Chinese stuff or, unknowns or anything like that. I'm going to just trust this one thing that was known and, buy the dip. Well, it dipped and dipped and dipped and dipped and dipped for 2 years.
I buy the dip, but it keeps dipping. That's the meme.
Yeah. So my 450,000 speculation into the dips over the course of time in 2019, when Hex was launching, somewhere around there, maybe right after the first few months of AA, I capitulated. And the market wasn't into bull. It didn't look like this previous product that I supported and liked. And, I found out about all kinds of, dirty deeds and things like that and stuff like that in the background from the CEO or whatever. So like I lost faith in the product as a use case. I didn't believe that it was actually in code, aligning with the DeFi world that I had hoped for. So I capitulated. So 450,000 became 37,000. I was like, that sucks.
It's part of the initiation.
Yeah. So, but that led to a conversation, and the conversation led to, so my two friends that I was talking about, they come from Los Angeles. They were going to launch a product in 2018. They had brought in a third person. The third person was Rob Beatles. Rob Beatles, known as Crypto Beatles back then, very popular YouTube channel, very successful guy in conventional business. If you've gone to the United States Postal Service websites, then he's the one, or his company is the one that designed all that stuff. So he's got kind of like a government contractor. And he, his net worth are north of 100 million or something like that. So successful guy in the Bay Area. And I knew him because of these two guys, and I knew him fairly well, and he's very religious. And I did a lot of like networking stuff in 2018 and 19 to introduce him to other products like Elastos and stuff like that, or whatever. And he was kind of this kind of personality that would go around and interview a lot of different startups in the crypto world. Anyway, when this happened, and when I capitulated, and when I found, I was going through all the stuff about this previous product, it was, he was the person I asked for advice. And I basically was kind of tear in my beer, like, there's no social accountability. Like in startup world, yeah, you might invest in your neighbor's kid's idea, but you've still got to see your neighbor, and you've got to still see that kid. And there's still some social capital that's lost if that kid just basically blew the money, right? If they didn't actually make a minimal viable product, if they didn't actually, if you don't see that there's traction and there's just loss, that's effectively fraud. So the ICO stuff of give me the money now and I'll work for the next 5 years to build something, that stuff was burned me out. I was like, that's not the startup stuff that I know. Like I'm fine with losing 9 out of 10 times on speculation and startup tech, but like I want accountability. I want that person to feel, awkward at the cocktail party. So I was reaching out to him, and he had said, do you know Richard Hart? And I was like, no, who's that? And he's like, well, you should look at his site. You should look at his information. He is the first person. I don't think I had done a Google search or anything like that before his mentioning of Richard Hart's name. And so, and I guess he was friendly with him or knew him or something like that. And that led to me looking online. And I think that Serena Alonzi, who's another YouTuber, female that comes on stream sometimes, her video might have been the first one that I really remember explaining the Hex product, how that would work, and how the code would basically generate yield based on time or based on volume committed to contract. And that I liked that. I liked that it was cryptocurrency in principle, that it was, no admin key. I didn't really know this Richard Hart personality, but as long as the code was verifiable, and I knew a lot of developers back then, and I just showed them the code. Like I didn't even tell them the name of the product. I just said, look at this code and tell me if the code works. And so stuff like that. So like my participation in Hex started timidly, like I am, early on in 18 and 19, and very active in the telegrams and very active in YouTube and things like that back then. But like financially, I was still very risk averse. Like there are a lot of, very big people inside of Hex that I know personally that are far bigger than I am, as far as like the capital that they have in Hex, or that they put in initially in Hex. And I committed more, like initially a little bit, and then 3 to 4 months in, like I capitulated on this other thing, and there's like 37 grand. I was like, fuck it, it should go into this instead of wait around. Like gold and silver, I gave up on gold and silver, put it into Hex. I gave up. People talk about the Corvette. I had a $70,000 or $80,000 Corvette that I sold and put it into Hex, and all those things have turned out, very well, as far as the number go up and, the speculation animal. But yeah, like my interest in the contract has never waned. I've always liked the contract, and my interest in the people that advocate or talk about, and the gladiatorial phase of, 18 and 19 and 20 was interesting. And those highlight reels of what happened, in the growth of the community, or, this sound clip of Richard, in debate with someone. Those were all very appetizing parts of this journey. And now I still look at the product, and I love the product, and I love that Pulsechain and PulseX are coming online. And I love that people like yourself, or, Hex Token, or, there's a lot of people that like put out a lot of data. Access Alive, I think, or others that made content over this conference. I really appreciate how many people really get into the nitty gritty, and then also, wax on like me, philosophically. It's just like, it's a great community as a whole. So that's where I'm at on this.
Interesting. But you were one of the first streamers, correct?
Maybe the first like regular streamer is probably Hexologist, and maybe Crypto Coffee. Crypto Coffee, Alexa, Serena, who else? Like Hexologist, I remember like in the Telegram rooms, he would post in Telegram funny thumbnails, and they weren't thumbnails, they're just funny, memes, funny pictures. And they were kind of stitched together rough, but they were funny. And I thought, that really just lightens the mood. At the time, I don't think there was a market. I don't think that the Uniswap had existed yet. I think that we were just participating in AA. And I even got banned, like, Richard, like I remember getting banned from, I was an admin of the Telegram rooms. And then I remember I said something that was like, this is a great grass movement, but it'll never get on a central exchange, and it, it's going to top out. Like I said something that was borderline FUD, right? And I found myself banned. I was like, oops. But that was only like, a month or something, and I still, participated, or still did. I think I might even started my Twitter or something. I can't remember, but I believed that it would do something amazing, but I didn't know the reach of it. Like I didn't know the reach of it. The Bitcoin story,
Yeah. So I guess did you see the rise of Bitcoin?
Another documentary or something?
That was like one of the first ones. It was with I love the movie. It was with Shrem and
okay.
Did you see any of those early Bitcoin documentaries?
Yeah, I've seen that one. So
I guess did that bring out some sort of like you felt like that in the early days of Hex? Like it was very parallel in the sense that it was very fringe. There were a few people out there.
So I have a different position, because I don't think that this gets highlighted by Bitcoiners. I'm friendly with many, significant Bitcoiners, Like I don't engage that often on Twitter with people that I'm still friendly with that have a different point of view. And they, maybe they're big bag holders, maybe they're, it helps their brand or their marketing or their content, consumption or whatever it is to be pro Bitcoin. But like I use, when I was first exposed to Bitcoin, I related it to cryptographically impossible to change, immutable. This is how it functions. Like I didn't know a lot of the business around, mining or mining pools or, core devs can change the code.
Yeah.
This was, there was this battle about, increasing the block size. Well, if someone can change the nature of Bitcoin, it really is not gold. It really is not silver. It doesn't have the atomic properties of any mineral. So I was relating it initially to a scarce digital asset that has this ability to send and receive. And some people can see that send and receive as peer-to-peer cash because it's in the moment, like they're doing remittances or something like that. Sure. Okay. I just need to buy enough to send it electronically. And then on the other side, it's going to be redeemed. Like that was the narrative for me about peer-to-peer cash. And the transactions on things like Silk Road or whatever it is, Darknet and so forth, its origin story. But then it has gone beyond that to be a speculative play, leverage tool, margin, seeking kind of business model. And if that's the case, like I don't like it being changeable. Like if people can change how, even the reliance on banks is a risk profile. Like we have that still a risk of ramps. What is the conversion into spendable money? What is the ability to buy with any fiat? Like those are still risks that we have in this barter of a digital token for a service or good,
Yeah.
But it can be changed. That's why I'm not like the Bitcoiners that I talk with, especially the ones that, they have, significant money in Bitcoin, but they hold it on a central exchange. They don't hold in, they don't assist the scarcity narrative because it is simply in a different vault. It's not scarce if it's not in your possession and millions of other people's possession individually. Yeah. If it's all in one honeypot or several, 5 or 6 centralized exchanges, then, it's not really decentralized at all. So
in the sense that they could just screw everyone and maybe dump it, or in the sense that, may not be as much as they say there is,
yeah.
Kind of thing.
So what would happen if FTX accidentally sent it to a burn address? All the Bitcoin.
It's gone. It's gone.
What if a terrorist just wanted to watch the world burn, and just said, hey, like the Joker in that movie, right? He steals $1 billion from mafia people and then he sets it on fire. Like,
yeah.
Well, people do stuff like that sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is true. So I guess the next question is, I guess we could talk about the bear market. Right now we are in a bear market. People are getting scared. I think there are a lot of narratives that, had they been going around during the bull market when Hex was making all-time highs, it would have just been negligible. But, the fact that people are down so much on their principal, really just kind of magnifies everything. So I guess, what is your take on the bear market, like where we are now, and just however you want to attack that?
Well, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
I'm not the absolute top buyer.
Hey, I feel great. You don't feel great. We feel great. Come on.
A significant chunk of money from sale of a real estate went into Hex in the above 40 cent mark, like 800 grand. So wow. Like that's a big buy, right? That's a big chunk of money. And I think that if I don't want to cry, I could probably buy that same number of Hex for 30 grand now, something like that. Wow. Right. So like I commiserate with, my friends, your friends, people that are watching, people that will watch in the future. commiserate that, I think that I'm eating my own dog food. I think that when I talk, I'm speaking authentically. I'm not someone that's OG and selling, on people's heads, without participating. I participate also, and I participate all along the journey with Hex. So yeah, it doesn't feel great in the bear market, or in the narrative change, or in the change of the guard, or whatever it is. Like, Hex has the benefit of a small group of people in 2018 and 19 talking about it, that became a slightly bigger group, and became a bigger group over the course of 2 years. And until we needed to have some solution for in-stake fees and transaction costs on the Ethereum network, until that became prohibitive, we only talked one product. There was only Hex. There was nothing else that we talked about. And we really didn't engage other things inside of this community welcomely. We didn't welcome a lot of Cardano conversation, XRP conversation about this particular product of Hex. Like, it was a different thing. And now we are reorganizing in a lot of ways, and we're reevaluating. And there's the trader impulse that says, I need to do something in order to feel productive. Like, there's a instinct that action is better than not action, but that often isn't the case. As far as movement of capital around. But like, the action that we can be taking, and we should be taking in a bear market especially, is one, your tax planning. There's no better place for you to decide, for yourself, is this speculative type of instrument going to be around in the future? Or is this only the past 6 months or 1 year or 5 years of experience that I have, and this is the end, like the music is over? You have to make that decision for yourself. If you think that this industry is not going to go away, if you think it's going to continue, then you probably should consider increasing your income base. And you can do that through your own skill set, launching a business, delivering a product or service that people actually want and desire and need outside of cryptocurrency, so that you can continue promoting and participating in its adoption. So I don't think people should, like, quote unquote, retire off of their crypto. I don't think that's something that's really useful.
I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are bugging out, because they thought they'd be able to retire, and now it's looking like they're maybe not able to do that, and then they're really flooding everything.
Yeah, I'm sure that the .com bubble went the same way. Like, these things happen. There's misinvestment, malinvestment. There's fiat flood. There's it gets sequestered into different things. It gets burnt. Like, fiat has to be destroyed somewhere or sequestered. There's only transfer of wealth. There's no destruction, real destruction.
Yeah, that is interesting also. So I guess another thing to cross into is, because you mentioned that, it used to be it was just Hex, but now, because of Pulsechain, there are tons of new products launching. A lot of them, and there's now this excuse to, people could pretty much shill whatever they want, all these new projects, because they're saying we're helping the adoption of Pulsechain, whatever. And now people are getting suckered out of, selling the bottom, I guess, for another token, and things like that. There are all these sort of vampire attacks. That is not the way that people sort of imagined the bear market would play out. People thought it would just be, the price drops 95%, and that's it. We buy the dip. But now there's all this second guessing, and there's all this, hey, maybe this other project's new. We could get in on that. I guess speak about that. I would want to hear you elaborate on all these new projects.
Well, how trustworthy is Jim Cramer to you? Is it because he has been phenomenally successful in his calls, or is it because he's famous for bet against what Jim Cramer says?
The reverse indicator.
Yeah, so he's a reverse indicator. I think that we need social accountability. Like, I understand people don't want to be at risk. They don't want to be doxxed. They want to remain an avatar. They want to be just a tagline. That's all great. Participate, be at that level. but understand that that also, to an investor like myself, is considered noise, and it could be like, it just doesn't help the same level for me. I think that so when Trayvon, again, I like Trayvon's personality. I think he's comedic. I think he's necessary in the marketplace. If Trayvon's not here, someone else is going to be a Trayvon.
Yeah.
But Trayvon took a lot of heat, justifiably or not, about BitConnect. A trading bot that basically, makes sure that there's profit delivered, right? Is that based on the principle of cryptocurrency, or is that based on number go up? Is that based on hype? What is that? What is that? So did he do due diligence about the product, about its blockchain transactions and records, and where is the source of income coming from? He probably did as much as the average Celsius participant. Like, the average Celsius participant heard a story, it seemed appetizing enough to put money into Celsius or FTX or whatever, central exchange, right?
Yeah.
The earn program or the yield program of Coinbase or whatever it is, right? And if you're intellectually honest and you take the risk for yourself and you lose, be intellectually honest and just suffer that loss, move on, right? I've speculated on a friend's own startup, and it didn't go well. And because of that, I'd be like, okay, well, you're not the best founder of a company, but like, I'm going to preserve the friendship. I'm just not going to take a chance on speculating with you financially in the future. Like, I learned from that, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of thing. Like, when we have 150 potential new products that will launch on Pulsechain, and some of those are going to have liquidity provided in the form of token paired with something else on PulseX or on V3, if there's a V3, there's going to be liquidity in order to trade in and out of these product narratives, project plans, right? Listen to your hype man. Is the hype man, I still care a lot about like transparency and about how is the game played? And if no one wants to play a rigged game, I think that's the thing. Like, you don't mind going to Las Vegas, putting money on roulette when statistically you know that it's going to hit green every so often and you lose your money. Mm-hmm. Like, if you know the rule set and the rules are fair, as far as explaining to you the rules, here's what happens. Like, here's how it works.
Yeah.
Then that's what I think of as the blockchain and the code and things like that. Is like, here's 2 + 2 = 4. And when 4 happens, this is what you get, right? Like the formula element. But nobody wants to find out that there's a rigged buzzer that makes it land on black 13. Like, nobody wants to find out that the roulette table is rigged, right?
Yeah.
So when people come on to make their pitch about their new business or their new idea, and we want to engage and we want transactions on Pulsechain, and we like the fact that there's going to be a lot of transactions and it's going to burn the supply, and that reduced supply is going to impact the price, and it's going to be good for Pulsechain holders. Like, there's a lot of things in the real world that might financially benefit me, but to me are morally reprehensible. Like, if I got 2% of every heroin and crack sale to a 15-year-old, and I got 2% of that income, I'm not going to feel good about it, man. Like I have to have a moral stance. And so I just want a fair game. The first fair game that I found, and why I'm so enthusiastic about Hex, is because it's in code, because, the history of the OA has been a benevolent factor, even though it's a risk vector. It's a risk vector. It's undeniable that it's a risk vector, but it has trended data. And so, since I deal with credit all the time, creditors, mortgages, your trended history as a tenant is that you've got a FICO of 740 and you've never missed a car payment. Like, I look at trended data, and the OA to me has great trended data. So I'm more believing because of the trend. The trend is my friend until it's no longer the trend, right?
Yeah.
So I want to promote things on Pulsechain and PulseX that serve that investment thesis for me. When I start doing more content about cryptocurrency instead of business credit or other stuff I talked about, it'll be after Pulsechain is launched, after it appears that it's running without flaw. PulseX has a narrative around it. And then I'm probably going to only engage with people that are doxed. If it doesn't have to be the founder, but it has to be someone that's doxed to me, like it's required. If I'm going to pair my speculative economic energy with your speculative product, you're going to have social accountability. I don't care that there's a $5 wrench attack. I suffer the same risk. So does Elon Musk. So does Richard Hart. So does Hexologist. So does RG3. So does a lot of people, right? So like, I don't agree with the narrative of give me your money, trust me, bro. Like, I don't agree with that.
It's really disgusting that people could raise money for a project anonymously. And I actually compared the like back in the early thousands, you had the .com bubble, like that was the hot ecosystem. So like Pulsechain sort of has its own mini .com bubble, where like the same way people put the .com on the ticker back then, and they were able to just raise millions of dollars. People now, even anonymously, are like, we're making this Pulse fill in the blank. I called it the Pulse prefix, and then all of a sudden they raise 100,000, if not $1 million. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
What do you think about that comparison?
Well, it's something similar to the meme stuff. Again, I think that memes are fine. I think that NFTs have a speculative value, just like my comic books had a speculation. I mean, when I was growing up, I put comic books in little plastic bags and hoped I was going to be, wealthy from it, right? Mm-hmm. And if it works out, you've got the Superman #1 or whatever it is that has this marketed demand about it. Maybe it's profitable. So it's the same sort of thing with like the NFT stuff, minting a certain amount, having some reserve, giving some for free effectively to influencers that will talk about it on their channel, and then they dump it. Like they're not holding it. Like if they don't believe in it, even though they got it for free, why should you pay money for it and believe in it? Like there's certain things about like this. I want to be in the same boat with other people that have risk of tipping over the boat. Like if I'm going to be speculating on a cross Atlantic journey, like I want it to be a safe boat, a secure boat, and I want people that have the same risk of loss as me, right? So like that kind of thing. That's what I was talking about, like the social capital thing. Like if you don't have capital but you have the idea, okay, well, how many other people might have the idea? Somebody else might, right? There's a lot of that happens in startup culture, where you're building on something for 6 months or a year, and then someone else achieves a patent before you do, right? So you need to have that speculative risk.
Yeah, and speaking of the social capital, I'm thinking like if I were in that situation, a lot of them may not even have like malicious intentions, but like if I were an anonymous founder and I had no money, and all of a sudden I could start dumping on people, and I could walk out and nobody knows who I am, and I could just start my life again. I could make another anonymous project or another, it's like, would I really not do that? Would I not succumb to the temptation? If I'm being honest, I wouldn't say that I'd be the exception. I could easily see myself, succumbing. So like, that's what people have to understand. People also have to understand.
I mean, it's very much temptation. When I was a kid, people would talk about, why do you only get retirement when you're in your 60s? Your knees are gone, your lungs are gone, you're not of great health, and you now are retired and you can't go on your tour to Rome or, the adventure of sailboating or something like that necessarily, these rigorous kinds of required things. I was like, well, how are you going to pay somebody in advance for the work they haven't done? Like it is a point of contention about Pulsechain and PulseX. I speculated, I sacrificed. If something comes back as far as points, then it comes back. If it doesn't, then I just eat my loss. I'm in the same boat as everybody. But it doesn't change the thing in the back of my head, which is, accountability. There's a social accountability that Richard Hart has right now. He is socially doxxed. He's got trended data about previous leadership of creating a product and marketing around a product. As far as advocation of the value of code. So like there's a little bit better than anonymous, but that's still great risk. And that's the same thing that happened with Hex. Hex had risk because the code could execute flawlessly, and we did not anticipate an S-load 12x cost. We did not anticipate that threading through every single day of a staking period would be so gas intensive when it was designed to be very gas efficient. Like there's things that were not controllable. And because of that, and because of it not reverting, basically, when we whined about it to Ethereum, then we had to launch our own L1. We have to come up with our own solution. And it just happens to be that solution can serve the benefit of other Ethereans as well, and can bring over speculative enthusiasm, let's say. So like the narrative has been helped by the risk of capitalizing the development of a new L1 and a new DEX. That risk of 15-year stakes being priced out on the transaction cost because of Ethereum, that risk has been mitigated through the creation of a new L1 that's 1/10,000th or whatever the cost.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and now I guess there's new risks now with a lot of these new projects. So it's interesting how you try and get rid of risk and you unintentionally get a lot of new risk. But I guess in terms of Testnet V3, I think, first of all, are you squeezed for time? I sent in this private chat. I don't want to keep you overboard.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. And thank you so much for coming. And I'm loving this conversation. And you brought a lot of viewership. We have 104 people watching.
That's great. You're a great channel. I really like your content. I think you're prepared. 5 to 10 minute videos are excellent. Yeah. So keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And coming from you, that means a lot as well. So I guess hit the like and subscribe button. And obviously I have your Twitter and YouTube linked in the description below for everyone to follow you on Twitter and subscribe to your YouTube channel if they have not yet already, which I'm sure they have, but if you didn't, you go do that now. As far as the Testnet V3, right? Everyone wants Testnet V3. People are looking at the GitLab to see development activity, and maybe there's a little bit more development activity. Everybody wants the Testnet V3. A lot of people are speculating on a big announcement today. By the way, I'm speaking tonight at 8 p.m. Okay, guys, I'm on the undercard.
Is that what you're telling me? You're making the announcement?
Yeah.
You're announcing V3?
Me and Richard on the panel together. No. But what do you think? Is there going to be a big announcement? And if yes, okay. If not, then like when will the big announcement be?
I haven't seen any hints from Richard. There's been a lot of tweeting from Katie about the GitLab or GitHub. If that's what's called, and the different like activities by different developers. I think there's like 5 or 6 that have known role in the Pulsechain PulseX development. Like we are so hungry for any little morsel of a cracker of indicator. It's like crossing the desert, and you're like, anything.
Yes.
Useful.
So
like we're so information hungry. I think that there will be price movement. There's going to be price movement, I think, today. I think price movement is going to go up in anticipation to hedge. And if there is a message, then you're going to see more price movement. If there's not a message, you're going to see more price movement. So let me just leave it at that.
Sounds like technical analysis.
Today, there's going to be a lot of price movement today. I don't know which direction, but it's going to move.
Yes, and Maddie Allen is watching. Thank you, Maddie Allen. And I'm sure you guys are subscribe to Matty Allen, and you're watching the Hex conference tonight at 8 p.m. Very special speaker.
Yeah, exciting day, to see how it goes. This one, and I know that there's different narratives about whether it's Richard making an announcement now. Is that justified? Is it worthwhile? Should we do a V3 testnet for a couple of weeks, couple of months? Then it's going to be the question about like the interactions, data feeds. There's going to be content people would generate. It's talking about this is what the price of Hex on the new testnet is, and this is what the price of Pulsechain. And look, it's a 3-to-1 ratio, and they're going to do all these gamings. Just keep in mind when you do have a reset, and your coins are basically, your free coins that are play money, not real money, can't bridge out on V3 is, there's going to be narratives, and we're going to come up with the same speculations about what you should price a PLS token, what you should price a PulseX token, what you should price Hex or Link or anything else that's, would migrate over. Like, keep in mind, there's no consequence. It's very similar to what I was talking about with the Twitter anonymous, YouTube anonymous saying, trust me, bro, I'm going to develop a code for you.
I got the devs.
Yeah, I've got the devs. We're all lined up. We're going to do it. Just give me 10 million bucks and we'll be golden.
No expectations.
Yeah. So that narrative. So just keep in mind that that's the same thing that plays out in testnet. There is no risk for someone dropping $1 billion into a testnet, right? A billion, number with a dollar sign in front of it that you cannot treat as dollars because there's no loss. It is similar to, again, the federal government doesn't have a loss. All they lose is political clout. They do not have a capital loss. They just lose office if they lose that at all. So like there's not consequence the same way. Yeah. And so if he announces, then I see the Hex price moving. If he doesn't announce, I see it moving. If March, I think what happens in March, like my future anticipation of markets would kind of goes along with a narrative that may play out with Hex. Complete speculation, no input from Richard whatsoever. Nothing's informing me. These are just educated guesses in my brain and how I'm going to play my own game.
Yeah.
So for me, it doesn't really matter at all to the Hex price for me until Pulsechain actually launches. Yeah. Like people are going to speculate and try to anticipate or front run or sell early or buy their bag back lower or buy it higher. They're going to do all that stuff anyway. And it just is going to be an excuse to do so because V3 is launched, right? And then when Pulsechain actually happens, there's going to be a couple of days where people will ratio trade in the same hyper slobbering frenzy that probably will happen, right? Ratio trading themselves either into better position, but probably into a worse position.
Yes, I'm very against the ratio trading.
Yeah. And then there's going to be the quote unquote real market. And the quote unquote real market happens when there's a bridge. And when there's a bridge to dollars buy things or services, that's where you see, the maturing of this Pulsechain narrative. And you're going to see people that are very anti-Pulsechain try to break the code or steal the value to collapse the Richard Hart, narrative or the Hexagon narrative. You're going to see that threat vector, and you're going to see enthusiasm by people that are speculating, just like I will be. I will be speculating, and if it all works out great, I deserve the glory, and if it all works out horribly, I deserve the loss. Like that's this game. So I think that what may play out is. If PulseX does not have embedded into it some form of V3 type mechanism on testnet, and we're not playing with something that allows for V3 liquidity placement, even though it may not be identical code to Uniswap's V3, if that hasn't been solved, then I don't think that I don't personally think that Pulsechain launches before May. I think that May, the value of V3 is excellent. People like Sam Stolt. I like his content. In general, efficient. It's more efficient to have V3. And if it doesn't have, if PulseX doesn't have an embedded a version that allows similar action to V3, then V3 could be forked and be available in May of the coming year.
So you're saying that they're going to wait till they could fork Uniswap V3 to launch Pulsechain?
Either to embed it into PulseX or to control the AMM bot about liquidity on the new V3. I don't know. I really don't know how that would work with the AMM. I mean, with the fixer bot, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're saying because the liquidity with V3 is different than V2, so they wouldn't be able to.
Well, people that have liquidity already on Ethereum will be harvested by the fixer bot, and placed into PulseX. But that doesn't mean that just means that their liquidity moved, but the keys are still owned by the people. The people that had liquidity on a different bot, now they have it on the PulseX, or a different DEX, they have it on PulseX, right? So if there is, we saw Sushi Swap and Uniswap and Vampire Attacks, and we see, what Richard calls liquidity locusts. Basically, people will move the liquidity to where it's best treated. Right now, where liquidity is best treated in DEXs is V3 Uniswap. So either PulseX has to be able to compete by having a V3 concentration element, or it has to effectively be more appealing than when V3 is available and somebody will launch it. So somebody, if it's not Richard, somebody will fork V3, whether it's Hayden and the current Uniswap people, or it will just be forked when it's available to do so, when the license allows for such, and someone will launch a Uniswap fork. And I think that if V3 is part of that, then liquidity will migrate, and it may migrate from PulseX. The narrative may at least split it between two DEXs if PulseX doesn't have incorporated into it something that's competitive.
So you're saying they're going to wait till V3 could be forked?
I think they're going to wait until V3.
Okay. And by the way, just for the record, I don't say a lot of things for the record. I don't think there's a big Pulsechain announcement tonight. That's just what it doesn't feel like it. And
I think that people are going to be shorting. I think there's going to be some shorting action. I think there's going to be.
Click the affiliate link in the description, guys. You want to trade this? Big move.
I think there's going to be some. There's going to be a lot of commentary tomorrow. Let's just get at that. There's going to be commentary. I don't know what the commentary is going to be. It depends on what Richard says. But if Richard says basically the same things that every other interview he's had in the past, 4 or 5 months, price will go down.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like people are going to look for like nuances in his speech. And it reminds me of like XRP, like there'd be like a World Bank forum, whatever. And they'd see like, we need to improve our monetary system. And like the XRP community is like lit up like World Bank just referred to the XRP global reserve currency. Like people are getting like that with Richard Hart and like what he says. But usually what people say is what it seems like people say is what they're saying. There's not much in between it. That's just the way I see it. But, I guess the question would be, again, is there a hard stop for time? I don't want to keep you.
No. I think I think that if he says V3 is available, everyone's going to be happy. They're going to be placated. There's going to be enthusiasm. There's going to be commentary. There's going to be probably Hex price, reversal on its climb in anticipation. Now we've got a V3. Okay. When the next question, seconds after he says something like that, is going to be when launch.
Yes.
You know, now that you've got V3, everybody's going to be like, when launch, when launch, when launch, right?
Yeah.
All over again, like they have for every version. But if it has a different feature set, if it is interesting, even if you can't, if it has a version similar to V3 and people can start playing around with it, they're gonna figure out their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to say, hey, and there's going to be a lot of content that generates over the next few months about why, PulseX and why Pulsechain and what's the transaction cost, and why should you liquidity pair with your Ethereum and bridge it over? Like, there's going to be a lot of great narrative, and if that happens in a macroeconomic light, the halvening, if you look at the halvening for Bitcoin for the past 3 cycles, 6 months working its way up to the halvening itself, but 6 months prior and up, you see price performance. And you see that, buy the rumor. So people are buying the rumor to accumulate. And then usually on halvening for about 30 days, you see a sell the news where it dips, and it doesn't do massive dips, but it dips. And then you see a long climb. I don't know that Bitcoin will continue to always be the reference because of its halvening, but it's just like traders. When many people are looking at the same chart, they often come to the same conclusion because of the chart formations, and then they tend to push the chart because they're looking at the same information.
That's
so
a good point.
If we are, many people are looking at the Bitcoin halvening and they say it happens around March of 23 or March of 24, then 6 months before that would be around September, which is probably likely, who knows, the Fed will have been through its pause and might be on its pivot to actually start, 25 basis points decline in rate, and set up for basically the 2024 presidential election. So there's a lot of great tailwinds that a Pulse Chain V3 now launch March of May or June of 23, kick off a potential bull. Hex in some ways gets credited with this bull market of Uniswap being popular in 2019. So we have the narrative. And when people say, oh man, even Costa says, I didn't get in Hex. People got in Hex. Everybody got in Hex before me. I missed that opportunity. I hear him echo it a lot. Well, opportunity, when you have a zero cost coin token on Pulse Chain as a fork, you are getting that half for free. It is free. And you have a T-share rate, which is copied over. But your price to get that T-share rate is next to nil, right? It's almost nothing, right? So there's a lot of reasons why there could be a good push inside of Pulse Chain Hex and its price performance. And Richard desires as many I told you so's as he can in his biography. What he wants in his biography is significance. He is looking, in my opinion, to replace the Vitalik moniker, the Satoshi moniker. He wants that level of glory. If you're thinking about cryptocurrency, you might think about Hoskinson, but if you look at the price performance of this last cycle, if you got in at the low of the bear in Cardano, and then you rode it to the all-time high, it was 9x. You made 9 times your money on Cardano.
From bottom to top
of this last cycle.
No, wasn't it 2 cents? It went to $3.
You should look at. I do a YouTube video about it, and it sits right now at 3x.
Oh, now you're at 3x. Yeah,
it sits at a 2 or 3x now, but its all-time high was a 9x.
No, it was
from the last cycle bottom.
It was like a 150. I think it went. It's 2 cents to 350 or something. 320.
It was 320 this last cycle.
Cardano did nice, bottom to top. but it's also down like 93-94% now. I think I could be wrong.
I did a video. It's like a 30-minute video where I walked through all the coin market cap for like 30 minutes, and I like the top, all the names, whether it was Phantom or Cardano or whatever else was interesting, Ape, things like that. So I went through those, and it was like a 30-minute video, and I just showed if you participated in Hex in 2019 until now, and you look at the fact that it's like 2.5 cents or whatever it is, that still is like a 300 or 400x.
Yeah.
If you're looking at its all-time high, I mean, of course, it went to like 10,000x. If you look at anything else you could have bought December of 2019, I went through like 15 different coins, Cardano, 2019 until now. And I looked at the all-time, what you would have multipled. I think Cardano was like a 9x. I may be wrong, but I think it was like a 9x. And it came down to like a 2.5 or 3x.
Interesting. I guess if you need, I want to keep you as long as I can, but if you need to go, you could just private chat and whatever. But I appreciate you coming on. We have 122 people viewing. So,
that's great.
It's not me getting the 122. That much I can tell you. I get like maybe 50, 60 on a good day.
That's great. Well, you've got, like you said, so you and there's others that make, like, again, I support Crypto Weekly Review. I like Alex. He's a nice guy. I think he has his ear to the ground about like all of the market, and he pays attention to, like you guys do, to macroeconomics and what's happening with the Fed policies or other things that could push prices. And that's why I like your channel this similar way. So I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate it. And yeah, he does. There are some coins he shills that I don't like so much, but I can appreciate the work he puts into his videos. I guess
I'm not promoting what he promotes. I like his meme culture. I like his info narrative. And
I'm subscribed to him, and he definitely gives great news on the broader markets as well. But I guess that sort of bridges us into my big campaign and maybe advice I'd have for him, because I do Bitcoin TA just in the beginning, and I don't even believe in technical analysis, but I just do it because everyone's coming in and like Bitcoin leads the market kind of thing, and then I post it and hashtag Bitcoin. That gets this brings us to onboarding, so that gets like 50 views maybe with 2,000 subscribers. What I realize is if you're making any videos on mainstream cryptocurrencies, anything other than the hashtag Hex Pulsechain PulseX, you are not going to get engagement, because you're getting to the back of the line. There are big people out there like Meet Kevin, like BitBoy, like CNBC, like all those channels they're getting in front of you. With TikTok and YouTube Shorts, that's not the case. You could get my most viewed video on TikTok was 3,000. It was on Michael Saylor, hashtag Michael Saylor, hashtag Bitcoin, hashtag Bitcoin maxing, 3,000 views with 90 followers. That's outreach.
Wow.
That's a lot of people probably following me that don't know about Hex. They don't know about Pulsechain. So there's a bunch of reasons for that. So the reason why is we were talking about this earlier, but one is that it's served. So if the algorithm sees interest, it brings it to the consumer, the content consumer, right? Because when you browse YouTube, not only is you first of all, when you go on the platform, you already have something specific in mind that you want to search for. Specific content creator, a specific topic. You're not going to search for Hex. You're not going to search for Pulsechain. You're not going to search for Richard Hart if you don't know about it already. So the chances of you finding it are slim. And then not only that, you have to get behind in these mainstream tags. You have to get behind these bigger content creators. With YouTube Shorts, it's less concentrated. With TikTok, it's less concentrated, and people get served. Meaning, if when you lock in the hashtag, the algorithm brings it to people in that conversation. I know Khaleesi tweeted about cupcakes. So she got into Richard Hart. She was watching cupcake videos, and Richard Hart came across, and that's probably because one of the hashtag conversations that she was interested in was used on that video. So that's obviously became a massive campaign for me, because this is something I locked in on with regard to the Hex community that nobody's really seen before. That you go to Hex hashtag on TikTok, there's no one there. You don't even get the Hex crypto. It's a
Yep.
graveyard. So I'm trying to. What is your take on the TikTok and YouTube Shorts campaign?
I think it's great. I think you have a Telegram room or something like that. I don't know if you're going to share things there
Yeah,
or if it's
I could.
coming with ideas, but
I'll share that right now in the chat.
yeah, I don't know if people
So
can
people
copy
could
paste
join.
or make it applicable.
Even
But
if you're not a content creator, you could join, and then you can support them. Like they post in the chat that they just posted on TikTok, YouTube Shorts. You go like their video, leave a comment, drive engagement up.
yeah, so again, these are places that on your mobile you're just scrolling by on YouTube, and it will have a whole section that's shorts, and then like you said, people will spend hours basically going through infotainment or entertainment or whatever it may be, and something just may trigger that gets them to look at the Hex product or the ecosystem. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and
But yeah, so the simple thing is I'm support that because it helps you as an individual become more comfortable, because you're going to make a post as a TikTok or a short, and you may or may not decide to ever read the comments. It's not necessary. If you're shy and you just want to like practice, still practice, man. Get it out there. This even with these Richard doesn't seem to appreciate the Twitter Spaces. I like the Twitter Spaces because it helps people reinforce their own belief or come to one of their own, a new one. So like fear of public speaking is an overwhelming thing for a lot of people, a ton of people. Like I even read something once that people would prefer when they get surveyed and they get an interview, get a poll about it, that they prefer to die than publicly speak on a stage to a group of 500 people. Like They were like, that's impossible. But like you're a better, I think you're a better person if you engage in this level of self-improvement, like this type of self-improvement. It's worthwhile. So yeah, shorts, TikToks, YouTube content, Instagram posts, picking up a skill set to do it yourself or hiring it out, finding someone that their profession, you value the service that they deliver, you should compensate them for it. Like, things like that. So I'm all about like the engine of business.
Yeah. And I love YouTube. I love streaming and I love Twitter, but it is not good in terms of outreach. I mean, there is outreach that goes on all the time, but it's so concentrated. And this is what I'd say to any YouTuber making any Hex YouTuber. You want to cover something like FTX, something mainstream. You should not even make a clip about it. You should just make a short or a TikTok, because that actually gives you a chance of getting engagement. You're not getting engagement. You're not getting engagement on a regular long form video or a live stream. So that's that's what I'm saying. And I think that is really the key to virality. And the reason why I'm so convinced, I'm so confident, is because it is a blueprint that was used before by Andrew Tate and his followers. Andrew Tate and his followers really throttled his virality by getting onto YouTube Shorts, to the point where my friend calls me up and he says, I can't use YouTube Shorts anymore because all I see is Andrew Tate. He literally broke the algorithm. And we have a community that's so engaging. If they just shift some, like maybe 10% of their efforts from YouTube and Twitter to making 1 to 2 shorts a day, we'd get that same result. And I think Richard Hart I think his approach to financial freedom is a lot more pragmatic, practical, and less effort, if we're being real. So I think it would really bring it to the masses. It would really bring it to the mainstream and the television programs that everybody really wants to happen. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was trying to remember, what's the name of that website that you can go to search YouTube? Maybe it's Richard Hart content. Was it Hex Search or something?
Oh, hexsearch.io. Hexsearch.io.
Is it .io?
I think so.
Yeah, Hex Search. Yeah, search through Richard Hart's videos and find what you're looking for. So I think that's an amazing resource. One is Richard doesn't monetize his content, and if you're using his content, famously, many of us, if not all of us, have clipped up something that he has said in the past, put it into a 20-second or 30-second thing. A-Bit does a lot of it on his Instagram reels and his TikTok stuff. And he just does a little bit of editing and then he posts it. You can download the whole file if you choose to, and then dice it up. And even if you don't want to be a public speaker, just create a brand new YouTube channel and then create a brand new Twitter account or Instagram account, or TikTok account. And, you know, people like myself, I'm not copyrighted on mine. I think most of my stuff, if it's related to Hex, I don't think it's monetized, and it's available for you to download it. I even post, I think, in a copyright-free way. I can't remember what I've done recently, but I don't have a problem with people downloading my content. I'm just kind of dry. I think Richard is engaging and, you know, personality, and, you know, people are going to, you know, rubberneck to look at what he's doing because he's got wristwatches and so forth. Right. So his content, if you wanted to, again, he's never, as far as I know, done any kind of copyright strike. He's never, as far as I know, ever admonished somebody for downloading from his own YouTube channels and then dicing it up, putting it out there. Right.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the best or most flattering clip, it adds to virality. People say if they're not talking about you, you're irrelevant, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter what you choose to put out there. Really, it is helpful to just be, for people to know you exist, right?
Yeah.
So
it's beautifully said, and that's what I was saying. Like Hex has everything. It has the best code. It has the best game theory, the best founder. It has the best community, and you know, it has all these things that people think it's such a given, but if you can't get the word out, if you can't get in front of people, it doesn't matter. And that's why I have a little bit of this, like, when Pulsechain launch fatigue. It's like, really, like, world's largest free airdrop, but like, what if people don't know they're getting the largest free airdrop? Does it even really matter? That's why if people would put less money, less time, V3 is going to happen. Pulsechain is going to launch. The question is the marketing going to happen? Are people going to know about it? And that's up to you, guys. That's up to you. Not saying you specific. I'm saying everyone. It's like, and I committed to 2 TikToks and shorts a day. And I think there's no reason why anyone can't do that. And they're not perfect. They're not as good as Super Hex Win, but it's something that you could do very easily. And there are a lot of people, whenever I tweet about it, I get like 50 to 100 likes. And it's like, and everyone's saying, yeah, we got to take over TikTok. And then I'm like thinking, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but it's like, have you put out any? It's like, are you going to do it? Or are you just going to like flap your lips and then continue to use use Twitter on YouTube? It's like, and Funding Jim has joined the Telegram. So I think we're going to get it. You think we could get one a day? And you say you're not engaging, but 116 people are watching right now. So I would disagree.
I'll do it. I'm committing to it. I think it's excellent. I need to learn it on my phone or whatever, but yeah. And I've asked Super Hex in the past, and I just, you know, fell down similar to others and pursued other things.
And it's like, not only that, it's like, these, when you onboard people from that, they're yours. So like, they will use you for consulting. They will use you for Patreon, things like that. They will want you, like, a lot of the people that are watching, like I say, hey, I have a consultations and 118 people are watching, but people don't want to do it because they already feel like they know enough. And I could even argue that I could teach them more. And some cases, maybe people will, but people don't feel that. But if you get a new onboard, they're going to want to hear they got in from you, and they're going to want to hear from you. And that's good business for your individual business as well. So excellent outreach. We have Diamond Hand said, started a TikTok channel unrelated to Hex, and within a month, he had 5 videos go viral and hit 300,000 views. Can't agree more with your ideas around short-form content. So one question, first of all, Diamond Hands makes an excellent YouTube channel. You guys should all be subscribed. But Diamond Hands.
Yes, amazing YouTube channel. Footballer.
Yes. And are you in the Telegram for TikTok and YouTube Shorts? And are you posting TikTok and YouTube Shorts? Because not trying to put you on the spot
here, to search.
But
you're gonna make your TikTok, your Telegram easier to search.
Yeah. So hope you could get in that. Let me see if I can post. Yeah, this is it, guys. Posting it again, the link. Get in the Telegram. And even if you want to not post, which you should be posting, you could support the people that are posting. But this is really the key, guys. This is the key to virality in 2023. Nice. So yeah, enough of the TikTok. I'll probably talk about that tonight also, just to try and get the message out, just try and get a little bit of shift in marketing. But I guess, could I ask you about, are you squeezed for time?
Like maybe 5 more minutes. Let me give you 5 more minutes.
Okay. 5 more minutes. I guess, how do you, I said 2023 is the year of opportunity. And I think 2024 is going to be the big run up. Yeah. So how would you describe, what do you see happening in 2023, maybe with regards to the Richard Hart ecosystem and broader markets? What's your outlook?
I'm the presidential cycle, the narrative that the incumbent wants to present the best possible marketing, incumbent party, the Democrat Party wants to put the best possible party narrative out there. And I think that in 24, for the 10 months before the election, they want to show unemployment coming down. That means it has to be up. And right now it's where everyone's employed. A lot of people are employed. So like the percentage of unemployment during 23 will go up. And I think that, like I said, about whether inflation has topped out, Michael Burry tweets and other references, whether they say that inflation is topped out or not, basically there's still, doesn't matter. The rotation still happens. The cycle still happens. And I think that people will be in fear mode in 2023 because of unemployment, this propagated YouTube narrative about inflation, whether it's true or not, but it still served the purpose of influencers, to basically put fear into the market. And 23 at the around September or so, basically if the FOMC has 2 meetings of the rate being paused, and then they do turn on printing press, of even if it's 25 basis points or something small, I still think that that's going to be a trigger. So like the general crypto market cycle of Bitcoin halvening, Pulsechain launching, people in anxious position being trigger happy to do something. When they hear the starting gun, so to speak, I think that it could be the biggest bull market I've ever seen, potentially, in my lifetime. There's the .com that always gets referenced, as there's the roaring 20s that gets referenced, before, stock market crash, or, world wars and things like that disrupt economies. But I think that the potential for a Super Bowl in 24 is here. That means that to me, it means that there needs to be pain in 23.
Well said. Well said. And I guess the last thing, first of all, Diamond Hands is jumping in the Telegram. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to hearing from you.
There's a few people in there.
Awesome. That's exciting. And I guess, what is your message to the people out there hurting right now? Which, people are impatient. They feel like it's going to last forever.
There's so many opportunities. ChatGPT seems to be dominating all the conversations on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Everybody seems to be coming up with some form of a business or a proposal that AI is going to be the next .com, and it's going to be this resource, and it very well may be. I think you should engage. I think that we have gotten, again, America does promote consumer economy, which is, 99% of your responsibility as an American is to consume things. I think that shifting to being a producer is going to be more beneficial to you in your livelihood, your relationships, your, self-worth, all those sorts of things, by being actually a productive person. And that means, if it's a TikTok and you produce something, you put content out there, you were productive, you produced something. If it is investing into some form of knowledge, say you're going to learn a skill, you're going to, absorb some content that someone else has done the footwork and legwork to get to your brain and then put into your brain because you absorb it. That's not productive. That's still consuming, but transform it, put it to use, act. I think that builder economy or builder phase is now. Preparation phase is now. Your tax structure review should be now. Your credibility, your fundability, your access to social environments, like your networking skills. If you don't have them, if you're not invited to interesting parties where influential people congregate, why? Like anybody can be, you can be. Like you should be able to network, like learn it as a skill, take it on as a skill. Things like that,
I like it. And I like how you're telling people to double down. And I think a lot of people are trying to take it easy in the bear market. And it's like, now's the time to double down and really, put that work in, because there'll be plenty of time to lay back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, I believe, in maybe a little bit of
the phrase that gets repeated too many times is, expectation from the work of others. Like, have no expectation from the work of others, including myself.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to work. They're not going to work. Nobody's going to work. And just, a baked turkey is going to fly into my mouth. Like, I'm just going to be fed by, manna from heaven. Like, what? No, somebody needs to be you need to have expectation on yourself in a DeFi world.
It's very true. And I was going to throw in there that, like, if you didn't step forward, if like people like RG3 and Miguel and like those people didn't, and hexologists, there may not be any hex. Like, people have to understand that. And that's why I think, when the bull market comes, you could take your foot off the gas and like, and I think it'll kind of work out itself, because many mainstream content creators are going to want to cover hex. Many television, it might be a 60-minute, segment on hex, like on Richard Hart and things like that. But now it's not like that. And now is really the time to double down and make sure that there's continuity through the bear market. And there should be no expectations, and there should be more TikToks and YouTube shorts. But your closing thoughts. Thank you so much for coming on. Obviously.
Tweet out. So I can retweet your Telegram join room. I think that's very useful. I think that it's great, because if people do what I saw was after I joined, I can only see content after I joined. So if there's media, I'll go through it and look at it. And like if people upload their own TikTok, or if they upload something that could be used by others as a background TikTok or some content they can overlay, like some of that skill set, that would be good content. Like how to do it, the how to, like the 3-minute walkthrough on a cell phone. This is what you do. This is how you set the green screen or the background, or a video playing in the background while you're commenting on top of it. Like that kind of narrative, that helps a bit. People can find it right now on YouTube. I'm sure other people have produced that kind of tutorial. But that's helpful, and it just shows engagement. It shows commitment. If someone doesn't see your wallet commitment, and you put in X amount of dollars into the thing that they love and pushes the price, they want to see your social commitment, which is content creation, public face, commentary. Even Twitter, it is engaging, it is addictive, and I participate as much as anybody, but it is not as human. It is still words on a screen, and people are not going to get the intonations and the character and personality feed that they would from this kind of content.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, when you're on a short, you have someone's full attention, and you could connect with somebody for 60 seconds. That's crazy. But thank you so much. Pleasure having you. Hope we could do this again. And Funding Jim, guys, same. And click the links in the description to his Funding Jim's YouTube channel and Twitter. And is there anything else that you want to plug?
No, man. Find me on Twitter, message if you have any questions, something like that. I'll try to engage. In general, my content going forward in the next 9 months, 10 months is all about business development, business credits, unsecured credit, real estate, things like that. It doesn't mean that I'm not super enthusiastic about Hex or about hexagons or about Pulsechain and PulseX. I am. I think that we're sitting in an amazing opportunity, but I also want people to mature in their asset knowledge, mature in their finance knowledge. So that's why I like your content, is you're not a one note kind of content generator. So I support that, and look forward to more of your TikToks.
I appreciate that. Yeah, same here. All right. Take care, everybody.
See you.